Well, welcome to the 9th annual meeting of the Everett Station District Alliance. We had our 8th birthday in June, and this has been an interesting year. My name's Ed Petersen. I'm the president of the Everett Station District Alliance Board of Directors, and I'm excited to see a room full of live people. We do so many meetings hybrid these days, and we see each other on the screen, but it's really nice to have everybody together where we can have some better eye contact and interaction. We are in a unique and interesting year. We were founded in 2017 as a neighborhood development corporation, and that we have been for 8 years. But this past year has been a step into a future that is pretty exciting. You're going to hear some about this today. We have agreed to expand beyond the Everett Station District as our neighborhood and add Casino Road as a second neighborhood. Alvaro, good to see you here today, and thanks for being a part of this. We also are adding real estate development to the mission of the organization with the thought that it will be a neighborhood and real estate development focus for the next 10, 15 years as light rail begins to inch its way slowly to Everett. And of course, this is the northern terminus of the light rail system plan. Casino Road will be one of those light rail station locations. Everett will have several, and the commitment of the organization as it's thinking about its future and developing its capacity is to be involved in any transit-oriented development at light rail stations, both with neighborhood development and real estate development agendas. So today we're really launching the transition between who we were founded to be and who we've decided to become. We have a variety of presenters today that are going to help flesh out some of the significant items that are happening in our community. And here to tell you more about that and to orchestrate the messaging is our Executive Director, Howell.
Slideshow as I go. So first, our schedule for today, so you're aware of where we're headed. I'll provide a state of the district and the organization looking ahead. We will have a recognition of board members, both past and present. Mayor Cassie Franklin is due here at 1:10. We have a presentation about the stadium at, that should say 1:20, that's correct. And Sound Transit at 1:40, just to give a sense of where we're headed. And those presenters are going to show up after 1 o'clock. Not my choosing, but just know they are coming. In 2014, neighbors and community members just like you, including some of you, began meeting to discuss how to shape the future of the area around Everett Station that we are now in, to meet its full potential as a greener, more prosperous place with thousands of new residents and workers, while balancing the needs to maintain important existing light industrial and commercial jobs and businesses. In 2017, the steering committee of these leaders took the bold step to incorporate the Everett Station District Alliance to help realize this vision. In 2022, the City Council created the Everett Station District Business Improvement Area. And then in 2023, the city contracted with the ESDA to provide property and business owners with the services they expressed a desire for: greater safety, cleaner streets, a hospitality-forward approach, and better placemaking. Our vision, as adopted by the board, is bold, that our neighborhood will be a vital economic engine for the region, a major regional transit hub, a home for industry and residents, a great place to live, work, and play, and a model for how natural systems can flourish in an urban context, all supporting human health and resilience. We support our current businesses today, and we embrace the regional vision for creating more jobs and housing near high-capacity transit, knowing this is an essential strategy for economic growth, increasing housing abundance, and improving quality of life. And these values and visions will continue to shape our way forward. In 2025, we saw major progress on many partners in their own initiatives. And I think I'm supposed to be flipping through the slide deck now. We saw Kaiser Permanente open its new Everett Medical Center expansion. The center added 6 additional specialty care departments, including dermatology, endocrinology, podiatry, neurology, gastroenterology, and rheumatology. So you can see the vision that they had and how it's built. Compass Health opened its Mark Healing Center. This center will have a 16-bed psychiatric evaluation treatment unit to serve 250 clients annually, and another 16-bed triage unit to support those in behavioral crises. Compass projects to provide more than 30,000 points of service to more than 1,500 adults each year. City Council selected the area of Broadway and the railroad tracks north of Pacific as their preferred location for the future home of the Everett AquaSox and Men's and Women's United Soccer League teams. We'll hear more about the project and their progress later today. And Sound Transit finalized its internal work on the draft environmental impact statement for the Environmental Link light rail extension. And now we are awaiting publication of that DEIS in early 2026. Again, we'll hear more about the transit project later today from the agency. Turning to ESDA, in 2023, the board set a strategic plan with 5 priorities: improving our neighborhood safety, creating a stronger sense of identity of the Everett Station District, pursuing equitable community development, being a partner to our neighborhood as well as the broader city, and improving our internal organizational processes. And as you will see, we have made progress on each of these in 2025. I'm going to cover first our BIA program, and specifically the Safe and Clean program, and then move on to the broader organization, including the community development program. I'll wrap up with a look forward to 2026 and a short report on our financials and 2026 budget. So just as a quick reminder, this is our business improvement area of the 4 distinct areas that we have. This was established by City Council, and at the start of this year, I haven't redone the calculations, there were 141 parcels with 67 different property owners. It is governed, it is advised by a Ratepayer Advisory Board composed of ratepayers appointed by City Council. They advise the city and ESDA on our budget and financials. We do have a few members who are no longer with the entities that are ratepayers, so we are looking for recommendations of additional ratepayers to join the board. So please let me know if you are here and would like to join. Our Safe and Clean program is our biggest focus area within the BIA, composing 80% of our BIA budget. The top expenditure is a contract with a security firm to provide 2 daytime ambassadors on Monday through Saturday and overnight vehicle patrol every night. They patrol both on foot and by bike, ensuring they can regularly and quickly see the entire neighborhood. Our ambassadors take a hospitality-forward approach, assisting people in need with information, resources, even Narcan when requested. They help visitors with wayfinding, they pick up litter and paint over graffiti, and they address safety concerns as they arise. The overnight patrol conducts a single pass of the neighborhood once each hour, roughly from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. That's a little bit different depending on the weekend. This is currently more than half of our contract with the security firm. In the last year, they have identified and addressed nearly 1,100 issues across the neighborhood. You want to confirm that?
It was
18? 1,800. Great, thank you. 1,800 issues across the neighborhood. The top issues that they've addressed are litter and trash, conducting welfare checks, addressing graffiti, and trespassing. Of the issues identified this year, 98.5% have been resolved, with the remainder having a solution in progress or flagged for follow-up. I'll take claps. With our work and that of the city and our property owners, we've seen a steady 40% decline in cases initiated by the Everett Police Department in the neighborhood, as well as a 50% decline in incidents reported to the police over this 3-year period. A word on a few other aspects of our Clean and Safe program. We provide free no trespassing signs to our property owners and assist businesses in filing necessary paperwork with the city for police to enforce trespassing laws. We've had a pallet recycling program to keep our streets and alleys cleaner and prevent dangerous fires that have been set in the past. However, due to limited or no vendor availability anymore, we had to pause this program in 2025. Over this past summer, so that was the pallet shelter program, sorry. Over this past summer, we removed a fence that was obscuring the view of illicit behavior at 36 and Smith. The result has been the observation of much lower levels of unwanted behavior at this location. And this slide is, I supposed to have multiple images to show you here to show how it changed. But there was a fence that was hiding a lot of activity, and this has really helped to get it out. All right. We installed, during the summer, our ambassadors began noticing much more dog waste on the sidewalks, especially within one block of the new residential buildings on Broadway. To address the problem, we worked with Howie Bargreen, the property owner, the city of Everett, and a company called Dog On It, which is a business right here in the neighborhood, to install a pet waste station at 33rd McDougal. And I have heard fewer complaints or incidents reported by the ambassadors, so it seems to be working. Okay, on to the BIA budget. This is a quick snapshot of how we've spent those BIA resources. This is our budget to actuals year to date, so the budget is for the full year. The taller, lighter bar indicates the budget. The darker bar is the actuals. You can see in each of our 3 major spending categories, we are within our budgets for the BIA budget for the year. We use additional grants and unrestricted dollars to support our BIA neighborhood enhancement, so I will actually address that program in our next section. A few notes on the BIA expenditures. Again, the Clean and Safe program is more than 80% of our expenditures this year. 77% of that program is just our contracted services, most of which is the security. And most of the remaining is our staff time managing the ambassadors and working with partners to help implement it. 11% of the expenditures has been neighborhood enhancement, and that includes staff time and installing the street pole banners that come in for that. And then finally we have management and accounting, which is obviously less than 10% here, hitting our mark for what we're aiming to do. Just a review. 2026 budget looks much the same. We, again, will be focused on nearly 80% of the resources towards the Safe and Clean program. The one big change is a shift of our program delivery for our security services by shifting from a contracted model to an in-house staff model. We currently already oversee the ambassadors as if they are staff in many ways. This will allow us to avoid significant new taxes on the contracted security services, allow us to increase service hours of the daytime ambassador service, reduce staff turnover with better pay, and provide increased oversight and control over our ambassadors. So I'm going to go to the state of the organization and cover a little bit more of the community development work. First, a big thank you to all of our current 12 board members. You provide invaluable guidance and leadership to the organization. Beyond the BIA, ESDA is supported by grants and sponsorships from Kaiser Permanente, BECU, and the City of Everett, as well as members like you. These contributions ensure we can implement our community development programs. In 2025, we installed 70 street pole banners along Broadway and Hewitt, providing a new welcoming entrance to our neighborhood in the city, in large part thanks to funding provided by Councilmember Ryan. We continued to hold our seasonal community volunteer cleanups, or Adopt a Street cleanups. We held our third and biggest annual street fair. We participated in Everett Transit's Bike Everywhere Day Street Party. And while I'm on the topic of Everett Transit and the nice things that they're doing, the holiday decorations are fantastic. So thank you to Mike and Sabina and the team for making this happen. We helped organize a transportation infrastructure tour of the broader neighborhood for Congressman Larson and several agencies and stakeholders. We held a free vaccination clinic for community members. And last week we held our third annual Photos with Santa event, providing free digital photos for almost 30 families and likely over 100 people. Finally, we continue to host our neighborhood workforce work group with businesses, academic institutions, and workforce development programs to create a pipeline of talent for our neighborhood businesses. We also started a business workshop series that we plan to continue into 2026. Now looking ahead, last year I reported that the board was pursuing both an expansion into real estate to support our vision for community development and to expand our community development efforts to include all future light rail stations of Everett, especially the community at the epicenter of SR 526, Evergreen Way and Casino Road. Last winter, we were presented with a unique opportunity to purchase 3102 Smith Avenue, which is right at the epicenter of the current transit center, future light rail station, and future stadium. In fact, this is the one parcel, the only one in the area not subject to planning efforts of any of those efforts. Thanks to the generosity of the previous owner, Joey Ferrick, we're already, I should just keep that there, using his building to store our ambassadors' bikes and other supplies. So we were well acquainted with the building, thanks to favorable terms from the Washington State Housing Finance Commission and seller financing, we were able to close on the building in May. And thanks in large part to Ed's leadership on the program. This acquisition will help us bring to fruition a vision for balancing the need for more housing and jobs near transit, especially northwest of Everett Station, while supporting light industrial and commercial activities south of 33rd Street. It will also allow us to potentially integrate workforce development programs within the building that can support neighborhood businesses. We are currently pursuing funding for a two-phase mixed-use, mixed-income development, with the first phase including ground floor commercial and 58 units of affordable housing above. We have secured partial funding and are working to break ground in 2027, maybe 2028. This project will help us build staff and financial capacity to continue to support other projects, including the goals of South Everett. Expanding our geographic focus for community development to South Everett is our next big evolution. We've been working closely with our South Everett partners, including Connect Casino Road and the Local Initiative Support Corporation. Thank you, Tina and Alvaro. So we've been working with them closely to shape our programming and what our organization governance should look like. We are excited to share more about these developments soon, not today, but in January. This evolution will not affect our operation of the BIA as a standalone direct service to our Everett Station District businesses and property owners. In addition to continuing our existing services and programming, including the annual district street fair, volunteer cleanups, vaccination clinic, Santa photos, and so on, we will continue a bunch of other activities, we hope. So a few things to look forward to that we are planning that are a little different. One already on the books is a job fair or career fair on January 21st that will be held right in this room. We will continue the business workshops that we started last year. Building off of our volunteer cleanups, in order for businesses and property owners to know how we're doing, we'll have a neighborhood audit where property owners and businesses can join us on a walk and assess how we're doing in terms of the cleanliness of the neighborhood. We know that we will continue to need to do awareness and advocacy around the Everett Link extension and stadium. Hope to implement monthly happy hours, embedding a speaker series with that, and additional placemaking activities, including with the World Cup. We will also need to start working in South Everett, doing visioning workshops, and a lot of that work plan is going to be developed in January. Finally, last is the financials and budget. Need to report this to our members. So our current balance sheet through Q3 as approved by the board, that's the only approved financials that I have right now for you to be able to share, is through Q3, so through October, or through September. Current assets of $483,690, fixed assets of a little over $3 million, liabilities, current liabilities of $365,000, long-term debt mostly to the Housing Finance Commission, but total of $3 million, and net assets and liabilities of $3.5 million. In terms of the statement of activities, we have a larger collection of income this year. Obviously the BIA assessments are a big part of it. And so our services are commensurate to that. On the expense side, payroll is $110,000. District services, which is the contract, mostly the contract with Pacific Security, $175,000. Real estate program is going to end up being a larger part of our operating expenses as we move forward. And so $222,000. And then we have an operating surplus deficit of positive $46,000 so far. This is, again, only through September, not through the end of the year. Looking to 2026, so this is the total budget, not just the BIA. You can see the BIA is about 46% of the budget, and I already went through the breakdown of expenses for it. The rent from our property will be about 24% of our budget, grants about 17%, and donations about 13%. Our planned expenses for the year, need to explain this a little bit, but obviously we matrix our budget between our restricted accounts and our line items. So our BIA is in the blue categories here. Payroll will make up a larger portion of expenditures from the BIA resources because of the shift from a contracted service to staff service. And then we have grants supporting it, real estate supporting it, some of the staffing as well. So I went through, hopefully a lot. Hopefully I'm still on time, not sure.
One comment you may want to talk about is the name, Everett Station District Alliance, and what's happening with that.
Yeah, so we will have organizational changes. This might be a good transition, so maybe I will save this answer for a second here. But we're going through organizational changes because of the shift to represent South Everett. And one of those things will be a shift in our broader organizational name while retaining Everett Station District as the identity of this neighborhood and of our BIA work. So more to come on the naming in January. We want to make a big splash in January, so I'm not going to leak it just yet. Is it good if anybody have questions? Yeah, Pete.
Could you just give me a better idea of how the Station District BIA that we pay into for a property owner, and how that relates to these other endeavors? Is there some kind of separation in the organization so that what we pay goes to certain things, and there's some income that handles these other future?
That's a really important question. So in our accounting, we have a clear delineation between our BIA activities and anything else we do. And so when I was going through the budget, you may have noticed the revenue within the BIA exactly matches the planned expenditures or the expenditures for the year within the BIA as well. There's a clear delineation of that work, as well as how we allocate our staff time to those programming. The BIA, so far, in terms of the ratepayers and property owners, have really benefited from the grants. So we get grants, obviously, and other funding besides the BIA, and that supports a lot of our community development work. And that includes things like the street pole banners, the street fair, putting up the pet waste station. There's other aspects of our work that gets supplemented through our grant work. And it's been a net, you've had the BIA resources, and then the property owners have really had an additional set of resources come and support that work as well. So the delineation tends to bleed from our unrestricted and grant restricted dollars into the BIA rather than the other way around.
So a follow-up then, is there any risk to the ratepayers in the BIA for real estate development, for instance, or costs that are outside?
Yeah, we can't, well, one, we don't and we can't. So we're clearly accounting for those differences and share that information with the Ratepayer Advisory Board as well, and with the city. But the real estate program needs to be self-contained as well. And so nothing from the BIA dollars is supporting the real estate side at all.
That helps, thank you.
Yeah. As a clear delineation we need to make. And we have to do the same sort of thing for many of our grants as well. There's the same questions of, are you actually using the resources that you put into your grant applications?
I think I heard a second part of that question, which was about liability. So can you talk about, I assume, but maybe you can confirm, that the real estate is held in an LLC that is separate from the 501c3 and will have liability division, or can you talk about that?
Yeah, so the development of the site will have a LLC. The ownership of the entity is not with BIA. We did not use BIA dollars for it. And it will have, like, the LLC is being set up for the development of the site. It's not set up yet. It will be, and there'll be insurance for the site specifically. I'm not quite sure what the liability or insurance question would be of the building to it. We do house, for example, our ambassadors do have the bikes in there, right? And we'll use the facility as a base for our ambassador program. So we would want to make sure that the building is structurally sound and is a good space for our BI ambassadors, that sort of thing. But if the project goes belly up, the BIA dollars are still being spent on services, not on the building, and couldn't cover the building. That wouldn't be allowed. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So, as Ed was saying, we are in a big transition in the organization. And one of those big transitions is a transition of our board. There's a specific number of board members have given lots of hours and time and energy to the organization from the time they started conversations back in 2014 to today. And we want to value their service over that period and recognize it. And so I'm going to go through each of them so you can hear all of the names of people who did it. We have certificates for you, so if you're in the room, please come up. And Rachel, would you be willing to take a camera photo of them as well? Is that okay? Okay. So, I'm going to go through this. It's a long list. I'm not joking. All right. Okay. So there is an order to this, but although it's not very clear. But and so I will just call them and then state the years of service. And then if you happen to be that person, then we'll have you come up. Cassie Cutterback in 2024. Alex Lark in 2024. James Middleton, 2023 to 2024. Sylvia Anderson, 2022 to 2024. Gretchen Benson, 2020 to 2024. Kari Kwas, 2023. Maya Himachandra, 2023. Craig Chambers, 2022 to 2023. Molly Faye Cruz, 2021 to 2022. You'll notice some of them came from the same organization in that order. Greg Tisdale, 2016 to 2022. Zacharias Asanye, 2021. Sheldon Johnson, 2020 to 2021. Melissa Bostrom, 2020 to 2021. Nick Bratton, 2016 to 2021. I'll just note, I started counting the years the year before we officially incorporated. We have records back to 2016, and I think we started considering the group of people meeting a steering committee in 2016. So we're starting with that as the start year, but we were officially incorporated in 2017. Tom Hinkson, 2016 to 2021. Corey Burke, 2016 to 2021. Gary Watts, 2018 to 2019. Allison Warren Barber, 2018 to 2020. Angie Sievers, thank you Sievers family, 2018. Todd Morrow, 2016 to 2018. Kristen Kelly, 2016 to 2018. Peter Brody, 2016 to 2017. Fred Brown, 2016 to 2017. Craig Scottdell, 2016 to 2017. Brenda White, 2018 to 2025. Danielle Cavoto, 2021 to 2025. And now we're to current board members. So a lot of great folks who were with us for the first several years as we did that. Marianne Dillon, 2024 to 2025. She's with the YWCA. She might be online right now. I don't know if she's made it. No. Okay. Amber Harrington, 2024 to 2025. She's our current treasurer. John Hull, you're the first. John. Okay. Thank you. Jenny Sinker, she's with Kaiser Permanente, 2024 to 2025. Lori Fox. Lori, I think, is online?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, 2022 to 2025. Joe Sievers. Joe serves as our secretary. Chuck Watts, 2020 to 2025. It's Chuck here. Jennifer Cross, 2020 to 2025. She is online. Roland Behe, 2018 to 2025. Ty Farrell, 2018 to 2025. Could have been there, but okay. Neil Maddie, 2016 to 2025. This should say 2014, I think.
Should say 2014.
Yeah. And last but certainly not least, this does say 2014 to 2025, Ed Petersen. And we have a few more things for Ed, so just 1 second. We've had many visions over the years, some ours, some others, but Ed is always a man with a vision. And so these are some of the renderings of projects that have happened from 2015 through today. So the first here is a rendering actually done with the original group before even the steering committee formed with Methuen, the architecture firm. And then we have 2016, the city hired Makers Architecture to do a rendering of what the new light rail station could be and how it could integrate. So that's 2016. 2019, Forterra had a little bit of a controversial plan for a green neighborhood. And then 2020, our own Vista volunteer, she helped draw up a great vision for the neighborhood. 2021, we had the convergence study with Housing Hope, and then finally our current project at 3102 Smith with Dykeman Architecture. So,
Wow.
The other thing is Ed is known for wearing the hat that is appropriate to the meeting. He's wearing his Everett Station District Alliance hat today, but if there was a topic of the AquaSox, he'd bring an AquaSox hat. If there's a Seagull game happening, he would bring that, he would wear that. He's a builder, and so we have a construction hat to provide him.
Thank you.
We got a photo?
You want to stand closer together? Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
This is awesome, beautiful, a lot of memories here. We've come a long ways in 9 years. Awesome, thank you.
So yeah, one of the big changes with the organization is, depending on board action next week, we have a board meeting next week, but we will have a change in the board membership, and Ed will be taking a role with staff on our housing project to focus on the housing project, but be rolling off of the board. And I think, as you know, his leadership was instrumental for the organization to get us to where we're at. So we're deeply thankful for what he's done to build us as an organization and for the broader community. So thank you, Ed. Okay, we have our first guest speaker, and I don't know where we're at in terms of time.
We're 8 minutes early.
Oh, this is great. This is perfect.
And I didn't know how much time you wanted me to speak, so I have like 2 hours.
Great. Well, she doesn't need any introduction, but here's your mayor, Cassie Franklin.
All honesty, I actually don't know how long I was supposed to speak. So I brought some notes. I see it's a really friendly group of people that I already know, so I'll try not to use them as much as I need. But first, I just want to say thank you, everybody. Thank you to the Everett Station District Alliance, Brock for your leadership, and Ed for your legacy of leadership. This organization is so important to the city and is really helping to set that vision and transform this part of our community. Really want to just let you know how much we value this neighborhood and the work that you're doing. Also appreciate the ESDA ambassadors, the ratepayers for supporting the work of the BIA here. And yeah, just so thank you all. I was going to just kind of share, I was just reelected, so you're stuck with me for another 4 years. I was just going to share a little bit of my third-term priorities and how that maybe relates to the work that you're doing here. And then I can answer some questions if anyone has them. As we move into the coming years, it's, always balancing the needs that we have today with the direction in the future that we're going to. And public safety remains our top priority. It's been our top priority since day one, and it is our top priority. And as we look at that public safety bucket, real areas of focus for me are youth safety. Crime is trending down all across the city, but we still have way too many incidents of criminal activity involving youth, either as perpetrators or victims. And so working with our youth advisory board and our school districts, we're looking for unusual partnerships and solutions to improve youth safety. Another area of public safety that's a strong area of focus is continuing to sustain our alternative response. We have full-blown alternative response now. Director Julie Willie is here. This has been her project over the last 8 years. We now have independent social workers that go out and respond to 911 calls, pulling those off of police and fire, freeing them up for other emergencies, and having a more appropriate response to the mental health crises that we have in the community. They're doing an incredible job. We also have a MOTE, that's our mobile opioid treatment team, that is going out and providing medical care, and together these programs are supporting thousands of residents, so it's really wonderful. Part of public safety is using technology responsibly. There's been a lot of conversations about clock cameras, and I'll just be very frank. We protect that data. We do not share that data with ICE. Long before there was talk of what was happening in the community, our system was locked down. We turned off the national lookup tool, and we are one of the only agencies that put the policies in place that we only share data with organizations in Washington state that have the same policies, and we're also protected by state policy. So just wanted to be very clear that those license plate reader cameras are well protected, and they're well used. It's really, this technology is helping dramatically to reduce crime. And so we also have our drones as first responder program. That work's going to continue. The other priority area is housing. Fiercely pro-housing. It's not a surprise to Ed. We're longtime housing partners. But we believe in supporting housing at all price points in the city of Everett, everything from emergency shelter, affordable housing, market rate housing, and everything in between. And we've done a lot of work, and that work is going to continue. And then a final area of kind of bucket of priority for me in this coming 4 years is community engagement. From the beginning 8 years ago, we really focused on how we can better engage and be the most accessible mayor's office, city council, and make sure that we're very responsive to the community. During this time, we also had our community support districts, and so now we have council districts. Those district members were just re-elected. Councilmember Ryan is here in the audience. You're stuck with her another 4 years too. Yay, Paula! But my goal is to work in partnership with our council leadership and those district leaders to really increase district participation. Some of our districts really, very few people are really engaged in local government. We have 19 neighborhoods. I'd love to work with those 19 neighborhoods, our nonprofits, our faith-based partners in each district, and kind of form district alliances, and I'll be looking forward to working with the council on that. And then, excuse me, I'm not flipping you off. I injured my thumb, or my middle finger. I'm really sorry. Every time I look down, it's like, ah! So sorry. Few big projects that are of utmost importance. An outdoor event center. We have been working on this for years. I want to thank Councilmember Ryan and Councilmember Fossey. They brought forward a fantastic resolution last night to council, really expressing our values around this project and the importance of it, partnering with labor organizations and supporting our small businesses and what our community wants to see, having a urban park accessible. So really excited about that work. We are at 60% design, and we're doing some value engineering. The cost of everything has gone up. We have a progressive design build process, so we're doing the value engineering now so that we know what that bottom line is going to be. And so in a few weeks, we will be coming back to our council with a budget and some decisions, but really excited for this transformational project. Light rail is, of course, I had one Sound Transit Board meeting in the car on the way to my last meeting, and then I have another Sound Transit Board meeting this afternoon. It's my least favorite part of the job, but one of the most important things I'm doing right now is advocating for our community and making sure that as that light rail comes our way, that it is supporting the community it's serving. And grateful to work in partnership with Connect Casino Road and make sure that we are really thinking about that community and making sure that gentrification is mitigated as much as possible, and that people that are transit reliant in our Casino Road community are supported by light rail, and then that final station in our system is here. So that work is very important. And I'll end with a few other updates they put here, but I'm not going to talk about it. But I want to talk about World Cup. We are very excited to be a fan zone for the World Cup. We got all the game announcements. We're going to have activation down at our waterfront, but this is going to bring thousands and thousands of visitors throughout the region into Everett, and so it's very important to us to showcase the best of Everett on that global stage. And so we're working with all of our partners in the coming months to make sure that we're putting our best face forward and using that opportunity to continue to propel Everett into the future. And so with that, I will open it up for any Q&A that you might have for me, if there's time. And if there's not, I will leave.
There is time.
There's time. Yeah.
Don't be shy. Yes, Pete.
I hear that the housing authority that's been looking at doing some construction of housing to replace some that was lost is seeking funds to move that ahead. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, well, the cost of everything has gone up dramatically, and the Trump administration is causing a lot of harm in the affordable housing developer community. And they're going to need some support, and I will look forward to being a fierce advocate alongside the new leadership at the Everett Housing Authority. Right now, they're just seeking the money for the demolition, but they're going to need support and creative solutions from all of us kind of rolling up our sleeves to get the Park District or any other of their projects moving forward. It's the organization is struggling, but it is an essential partner in our city. And I think that the entirety of the Delta neighborhood is going to be better off when we are able to at least move forward with the demolition there, provide a more safety in that neighborhood.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Baseball events.
Yes. Thank you. Because it's baseball and soccer.
Right. And what else? I guess.
Yeah.
It seems to be known as just a baseball deal.
Yeah.
What about the other 315 days a year, whatever?
Yeah, so baseball is going to take 66 games a year, which is outstanding. That's one of the problems with the current site, right, is it's that the heavier season is now causing some challenges with scheduling with the school district. So we'll have those 66 baseball games. We'll also have 40 soccer games. So USL is a partner, and we've looked at stadiums that also have that baseball-soccer partnership. Some that actually have grass fields, we're not interested in that. That's a lot of work to replace that grass every time you're going between baseball and soccer. So we do it with turf here, and it's much easier. And so if you think about the PFD, the Downtown Indoor Event Center, it took us 20 years to get more than 100 events there a year. Right now, that's about where we are. It's about 96 events or something, I think is what they had last year. So that's 20 years of that being in operation that finally get to where they're hosting 20 events a year. This outdoor event center will have 106 events on opening day. So like opening that first year, we'll have 106 events. Outside of that, USL is very interested in being a strong partner, and Ben, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but very interested in being a strong partner to help ensure that we have a lot of concerts and activities. The council put in their resolution the importance of making that open and accessible to our community, and that there's community festivals, and so we'll have 100 sporting events. Very likely we'll have more sporting events because as we free up that school district, Funko Field, the schools can now host youth tournaments because we'd have 2 stadiums for kids to be kids sports. So I would expect we'll have some robust youth sports also at the new outdoor event center and the Funko Field Stadium, and then concerts, what have you. So very exciting, and it's when you're building things, it's still a stupid expensive project. It's so much less expensive than most other things we build, right? Because it's outdoor and it's just, you know, we probably wouldn't have the most beautiful bleacher seating everywhere. We'll have some fine seating as well, but you know, we can upgrade things over time. Yeah. So yeah. Yes.
Parking at the stadium, it appears that it's really not being built as part of the stadium. The idea of parking is that everybody's just going to filter out and use the existing surface streets and parking garages that we already have. Given that the light rail might come someday, and when I look at the light rail in Linwood, it appears to me that the parking there is already insufficient for the light rail.
Yeah.
What if, I feel like the stadium should supply some kind of parking, but is it possible to talk to the transit authority to say, hey, you know, as part of our stadium thing, we're going to build a giant parking garage, and not only will that be good for the AquaSox or anybody coming to the stadium, it would be a revenue generator for people parking at the transit center. Could be that, you know, could they kind of combine somehow?
Yeah. You're bringing great ideas up. Parking is going to be an ongoing conversation, and we don't have a parking solution. Hard to believe, but when you add up the parking spaces that we need for Funko Field and the parking spaces that you have here, there's more parking here available than we already have at Funko Field. So we have a lot of parking in Everett, but as we grow, we will always need more. And I worry like you about when light rail is here. Being that end station means people will drive to Everett to get light rail. So we do need to come up with a parking plan, and it comes late in the Sound Transit Plan, which is bizarre to me. So that's something that I'll be talking about and advocating for on that board. It's also an area that I think we are ripe in identifying it, like we need a private partner. A private partner is going to do this way more successfully than government, and so that is something that I think I'd be very interested in exploring. There's some parking incorporated into the outdoor event center project, but the expectation is that we are doing everything we can to encourage public transportation, to encourage ride sharing, to encourage other avenues, and utilize a lot of the existing parking that we have. Yeah.
Is there a timeline for property acquisitions in the footprint over there?
That is such a great question. Yes, the council authorized us to initiate that, to start to make offers on properties, and that is going as there's 2 areas. There's like kind of like the core area that we absolutely need to begin on this project, and then there's other properties that will be needed to acquire for laydown and things like that when you're constructing something like this. And so we hope to begin acquiring property very soon, like within weeks.
Very soon.
Not months, weeks. I need there's something like, I'm looking at Ben going, what am I allowed to say? What am I not allowed to say? So, but yeah.
You say, Mayor, that property acquisition efforts are underway.
They're underway.
And there's some tough negotiators out in this neighborhood. I don't know if you know any of them. So but we're working through that. We're really confident
Yeah.
that we'll be able to hit the schedule and arrive at fair deals for
Yeah.
all property owners.
So that is, it's happening behind the scenes, and you'll start to probably hear a lot more about it very soon. I think, or I feel like I hide it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and here you go.
Don't leave just yet.
Oh.
Hiding behind here is one thing for you.
Oh.
Or for your office.
Oh, it says
I-
One Everett. I
Yes.
love that. We are One Everett. I just have to say this One Everett campaign is really, really important to me and to Julie. This was something we initiated to try to make us One Everett. For the longest time, it felt like Everett served only North Everett and ignored South Everett. And we have been strong, fierce advocates, and I know Councilmember Ryan has shared that vision that we are one city, one community, and we need all of us to thrive, to be successful. So thank you, this means a lot.
Thank you, Mayor. We are now into the presentation mode for our event. So up first, it's Ben Franz with SOJ. I think still SOJ, correct? Correct. Which is one of the lead consultants for the, I just say stadium project, but the multi-use event center, multi-purpose event center. And so I'll just let him take it away. He doesn't have a slide deck today, so just be able to provide an update.
Thanks, Brock. Brock and I met 15 years ago, believe it or not, on a streetcar in Portland. And I noticed him because he had the most impressive vintage bicycle. And I'm still an avid cyclist, although I will admit I drove here from south today. But Brock, it's great to see you, and great to see you in this role and growing this organization and being so thoughtful. The mayor actually touched on some of the high points, but I'll give you a few more details of where we are in the Outdoor Event Center project. First, acknowledgments to Councilmember Ryan and the great resolution that was brought forward to the council last night. The Everett Station District Alliance is mentioned in Bullet 2, and you should feel really good about that because Bullet 1 is about fiscal prudence and timely delivery. And so that resolution actually acknowledges the importance of a number of community partners, including the Everett Station District Alliance, and that one of the charges for all of us in the project team is to ensure that what we deliver aligns with all of your priorities and goals for the district. So I'll hit on a couple of highlights. The mayor mentioned that we've hit the 60% design threshold. This is really exciting. And just as we cross into the new year, we're looking forward to sharing some of the new renderings and design efforts and ideas for things like a festival street that surrounds the overall facility. So stay tuned for those being shared with the full city council shortly after the new year. The mayor also mentioned value engineering exercise. I know that a number of you are in active development and construction, so anytime you get that, first set of drawings, there's an architect here, you guys just keep drawing and drawing and drawing. So it's good, but we have to actually work through that. And so we're in that process right now, testing the full program, making sure that we're delivering exactly what we need for the facility, for the public, and for the users. So really excited to have that all on track. Lease negotiations are also going well with our two anchor tenants, so that's the AquaSox and USL, both deeply committed to the project, both from an upfront capital perspective, as well as long-term lease and overall performance in the facility. And the mayor hit on the key component. When we open this facility, we'll have 106 days already active, and the USL has a whole winter wonderland event program that they've successfully deployed in other markets that they're looking to bring here to Everett as well. So that's a key cornerstone of the project. That's a key funding source. As you know, we had a fiscal advisory committee that met for over a year to identify the various funding sources, and one of the charges is that the facility itself support any debt service to the greatest extent possible. And so we're continuing to work on that effort to make sure that it aligns with the capacity of the city of Everett. We're maximizing the revenue from the facility and delivering in as timely a manner as possible. I think there was a question too about property acquisition. Those efforts are underway. There's a number of properties that are required to deliver this, both for the core facility, roads, access roads, utilities around the facility, as well as staging and laydown space. I want to highlight just 2 challenges for you all, and if you have any ideas of how we can solve this, I'm certainly open to it. These are significant costs for the project. And when you walk out of here, you'll actually see this maybe slightly differently. There are some major transmission lines that flow through this neighborhood. So those are public utility district lines. They sit on very expensive poles that we actually have to relocate those to Broadway, to run down Broadway to create space for the new facility. So that's a significant cost. If any of you have an extra $400 million, let me know, because we'd like to underground all those lines. If you don't, then you have creative thinking about how those poles can be relocated to make the maximum space available and still accommodate all the utility needs throughout the region. The other significant utility challenge we have in this site is an old sewer line. So there's a sewer line that goes from actually 60 inches to 30 inches. It's a little bit odd because that 30-inch line is about 100 years old. We'll very soon be inspecting that line to see if we can line it and actually leave it in place. If there's a way for us to leave it in place. If we have to relocate that sewer line, it's about a $3.5 million cost to the project. So just a couple of things we're looking at, some of the challenges in utilities and relocation that we're working through to make sure this project really works well. Last thing I want to highlight is just the ability to work with all of you as we advance design in the new year. I was really excited, Brock, to see the plans you have for your property and how you're thinking thoughtfully about the neighborhood, how to create spaces where people can live, work, and play. And you know, I think this project can be a big part of that. So looking forward to working with all of you to ensure that we get that pedestrian connectivity between the station, your development projects, your businesses and your properties, and this new facility and downtown. And that we get the scale of it right as well, that we're not disrupting parking, that we get the flow through all laid out in the correct manner. So I'm deeply honored to be a part of this project. I know I just saw the mayor leave, but wanted to acknowledge her role in leadership and the council's faith and leadership on this project as well. It was a little bit of a campaign issue. I don't know if you guys all noticed that. That is often the case. And people ask me, well, what would have happened if Mayor Franklin hadn't been reelected? And I'm confident this project is good and it would have advanced, but it would have meant a 6-month delay. And that's not a critique, it's just the reality of new administrations coming in, if that had been the case, staffing up, getting their heads around a project and going forward. The reason I highlight that is not to make a political point, but to make the importance of, make a point of the importance of momentum. Right? We know that the AquaSox have been fined for several years now because they're in an insufficient facility that's great for the school district. It doesn't meet all the requirements for the AquaSox. We continue to have ongoing, very good communication with Major League Baseball. They're pleased with the progress. The reason the mayor highlighted, seeing some property acquisition in the near term, that's the next signal that they want to see. They want to see that we're moving forward, that we're able to acquire property, and the project's moving forward in a timely manner. So the next 2 to 3 months on this project are really critical to maintain that target and that goal of delivering for opening day in the spring of 2027. So a lot of work going on. Super excited to share with all of you as we turn in the new year some of the design progress, and then Brock working really closely with you and your team and your board to ensure that we get the investment in the neighborhood right to support your long-term goals. So I'm happy to take any additional questions you may have, and again, look forward to sharing more.
Can you comment at all on relocation issues with the current businesses in that area over there?
Yeah, state law requires that we support the costs of relocation of any businesses. There are some businesses that have proactively relocated already, and we've been working with them and our real estate consultant to support that, both in coordination and ultimately in reimbursement of dollars. So there's, I believe, a cap that's it's about $200,000 in relocation expense for individual business, and that's part of the state requirements. And so we're fulfilling all those and working as closely as we can with all all the property owners and any of the tenants that are relocating. And it's a priority. It was actually highlighted, Councilmember Ryan, in your resolution last night. That's one of the priorities that the whole project team has embraced. Good question. Other questions? Yes.
Is Webley's job safe? Because my nephew loved Webley.
I can't speak on behalf of Webley, but I believe there is no risk to Webley's security in that position. And when you see, I've seen some of the draft renderings, you see them, Webley may or may not still feature prominently in some of those. But I think Chad...
I don't want to have that conversation with my nephew, Ben.
Yeah, Chad will have to be the one to really confirm that Webley's future is secure. I believe that is the case.
So, just so I got the timeline right, so opening day from here, spring of 2027, brand new stadium?
Super aggressive. How do we get there?
Good luck.
Yeah, it's a challenging schedule. And this is a question, I actually had a meeting both with the mayor and Major League Baseball about a week and a half ago, and I got that same question. This is where the value of having a progressive design build team really comes to the fore, because we have the contractor and the architect in the room as we're finalizing design. And one of the things that will need to occur in order for us to meet that timeline is some components of the facility will need to be prefabricated or pre-engineered. And that's not to say they're going to be cheap, right? They're still going to be high quality, they're going to last for 30 or 40 years, but it'll allow us, as we are doing site preparation, demolition, utility relocation, particularly that major sewer line and the PUD lines I was talking about, major building components can be constructed concurrent with that, delivered and assembled. And a stadium facility uniquely contributes itself to that ability. You take stadium seating, for example. That's not a whole lot of fancy design that's required. There can be a lot of Lego pieces that come in and click in. So, it's a very aggressive schedule, and it's going to take those sort of creative components of the project to make it happen. Really good question. And it keeps me up at night, by the way. It's tough. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I read in the Herald an opinion piece where they were suggesting to the Mariners organization that they assist in some way. Mainly, as I gather, because the current dollars aren't sufficient to do everything that's desired. Can you say anything about that?
We've had a number of very positive conversations with the Mariners. They're very supportive of this project. I think many of you probably in the city of Everett and who attend games know this, but the AquaSox are a critical component of their player development efforts, and it's why they've expressed so much interest in this project. And we do anticipate that the Mariners will make some substantial contribution. How much that is, what components of the project they're ultimately supporting financially, still to be determined, but they're very, very supportive of the project overall, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
I just have a comment. You had mentioned a little bit of a political issue, with the stadium. I live and work here in the city. I will say it just straight up, when I talk to neighbors and friends, it was the only political issue. That's what the election was about prior to November. That's the only thing my neighbors and my friends talked about with the mayoral election. So everybody was like, yeah, they're both Democrats, whatever. Who's more pro-stadium? That was just it. So I just want to make that comment that I really do think that this really was on the minds of the voters this year, and that was the election, from my experience.
I appreciate that. No pressure for our team to deliver. Yeah. I think all of us were watching really closely, as I mentioned, primarily for the timeline, because obviously we all believe in this project and look forward to making it happen. And I can tell you that as soon as the results were clear, and even a couple days after the election and all the way through it, the mayor was continuing to track this project really closely. I think you could hear in her comments how tuned in she is to all the details and what's going on with the team. Great questions. Yes.
One of the issues that came up at the hearing in this room half a year ago was opportunity cost, that the space being dedicated to this purpose is at odds with, to some degree, other things that could be done that are important to the city. And I was intrigued by Mayor's comment when she visited other minor league parks about the rise of housing in and around ballparks. Is there any work being done related to stimulating the development of housing, which is one of her two priorities as articulated here today, in tandem with the development of the ballpark?
Yeah, great question. You know, we are focused entirely on delivery of the, outdoor event center facility. But I did mention at least one component that acknowledges the potential for this beyond just the benefit of having a lot of activation and drawing in and attracting new residents and new businesses and supporting those that are here today. But the idea that, this is also in the council resolution that was approved last night, the idea that there be a festival-like street that surrounds this entire facility. So this isn't just a facility that exists within the field, that it really speaks to the neighborhood. And Brock, that's one of the things that we look forward to working with you and your team and board on to make sure we get that right. So, and the mayor, the mayor's priority is absolutely housing. And if we could figure out how to fit housing over the top of home plate, we would do it. Unfortunately, we need a lot of air there in order for the actual sports activities to take place. But our hope is certainly that this serve as a catalyst for that. And I can tell you that there's a number of developers in the region that are watching this. How does this project come together? What are the opportunities around it for them to invest in the city going forward? Yeah, good question. Again, if you have creative thoughts of how stadium seats can also serve as housing and shelter, definitely all ears. Great. Other questions? All right. Well, Brock, thank you for the time, and I look forward to coming back to you and the board in January for many more in-depth conversations.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ben. If you didn't catch that, he already promised this to me, but now he promised it to the rest of you. Presentation in January about their actual design, so you get to see photos and things like that. So, final presentation today. Exciting. DEIS is not out yet, but this is an important part of Everett Station District, which is the light rail expansion. Currently slated to be here by 2041. If we get billions of dollars, maybe 2037. There's a number of things that Sound Transit staff are going to present on. I'll let them lead the way on their presentation. But Eric, who's leading here?
Eric's going to start us off at home.
Okay. Come on up, Eric. Oh, next slide. Oh, I need to pull up. Can you hold on a second? Yeah.
Do you want to email it to me? Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess while Brock's pulling up the presentation, I'm Eric Widstrand. I'm the planning director for the Everett Link Extension for Sound Transit. Here's Martha Russell.
Hi everyone. So can you hear me? I'm not used to speaking with these.
Yes.
Great, thank you. I'm Martha Russell. I work with Eric very hand in hand. I'm a development manager for Sound Transit. Very involved in what's happening for our project development in Everett. Excited to be here. I also have my laptop with the presentation, if we need that.
No.
Okay.
It'll just take a moment.
Great.
Yep.
There was a comment earlier about parking, related to the stadium and Sound Transit and light rail coming in. So maybe I'll just, while we're in transition, I'll kind of address that. So we've got, as part of the overall Everett Link Extension project, we are planning for additional parking in downtown Everett at the vicinity of Everett Station. planning for 1,000 parking stalls. We're also planning for another 550 parking stalls at the Mariner Station farther south. The plan, as Brock mentioned, was to get the train open and running to downtown Everett in 2041. The parking would follow in 2046. I know that kind of gets people's heads scratching a little bit. That was a decision made for funding to stretch those dollars farther. I think one of the things it allows us to do is see how people arrive at the station and want to get to the station before constructing a large parking garage right in downtown. I think there's definitely interest in how you can get housing right near a station, and whether you accommodate some parking with housing and other development as opposed to just one dedicated parking garage or several dedicated parking garages is one thing we want to continue working with the city of Everett on, as we know that a station in downtown Everett is going to drive development, and we want to make sure we're doing that collaboratively with the city of Everett in a way that best maximizes redevelopment downtown. Just use the mic. Handheld?
Just use a handheld.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, well, afternoon everyone. As mentioned, did introductions already, so we'll just kind of move right into the presentation. So this is a map of the completed transit system after the ST3 projects are constructed. May or may not recall, but ST3 was what the voters approved back in 2016. So it includes Link Light Rail expansion, Sounder service, and then Stride bus rapid transit. Today we do want to focus on the future of light rail into Everett. And altogether we're planning to add about 16 miles of light rail and 6 new stations connecting Snohomish County residents to the regional light rail network. We're also studying an additional unfunded provisional station at the intersection of Airport Road and SR 99. The project will extend light rail service from the existing Linwood City Center station, which opened last year, to downtown Everett. It will also serve corridors, development areas like Alderwood Mall, and other areas such as the Southwest Everett Industrial Center, where we've got Payne Field and the Boeing production facility. Also included as part of the project is an operations and maintenance facility, which would service the trains actually using the Everett Link extension alignment. This facility would likely open in 2034 prior to the opening of the light rail alignment itself. As Brock mentioned, we're trying to want to get to downtown Everett in 2041. Based on current funding constraints, we'd open the corridor to Southwest Everett Industrial Center in 2037. And we mentioned parking already, so get on to a little bit more of the project timeline. So right now we're in the planning phase, shown in green, which takes several years to complete and includes the environmental review process. This includes preparation of an environmental impact statement, which we'll talk about a little later in the presentation. Once we have completed the planning phase, we head into design, where we finalize our design and engineering work, and that's scheduled to be 2027 through 2029. And lastly, we're looking to start construction in 2030, and then get that first segment of the line open in 2037, and then ultimately to downtown Everett in 2041. Oop, sorry. Hit the wrong key. That was the abbreviated presentation. So getting into the environmental process right now. So we're in the middle of our environmental review process, and we're currently working on our draft environmental impact statement, which is the first of 2 documents we'll produce in this phase, the second being the final environmental impact statement. We're looking to publish the draft EIS in mid-2026, but we don't have a firm publication date at this time. That's something we're working through with the Federal Transit Administration, our federal funding partner and approval agency. Once that DEIS is published, we'll have a public comment period where you will give feedback on the alternatives we're studying. And that plays a big part in how we go forward. That's What we do with that public comment, we take it along with what the staff is looking at on the technical side, and all that gets rolled up into a recommendation to the board, and then the board takes all that information to make a recommendation on a preferred alternative. And the preferred alternative is what is studied in the final EIS. This indicates where the board is leaning in their decision making. We actually have some preferred alternatives along several segments of the corridor, but these can be confirmed or changed before heading into the final EIS. The board will identify preferences in each station area, as well as the alignments and an OMF North location. This results in a single end-to-end preferred alternative that is studied in the final EIS. I did it again. All right. And then what is studied in the EIS? So, this gives us an idea of everything that's in there. Here are several major topics covered, including transportation, the natural environment, social environment, community resources, acquisitions and displacements, and construction impacts. We look at each of these topics throughout the corridor, identify potential impacts, and ways we can avoid, minimize, or mitigate those impacts. And now I will turn it over to Martha.
I want to hit the same button you've been hitting.
It's up there.
Page. Yeah, okay. All right, so I'm going to talk about the alternatives a little bit more specifically, the ones that are in Everett. This is, we zoom in our maps every few slides. So this is a zoomed in version of the map that Eric had up earlier, orienting you a little bit to the colors here. So again, the green is where we have a preferred alternative that the board identified to go into the draft EIS. There are sections where you don't see a green line or green dot indicating guideway and station, and so that means that we do not have a preferred alternative there, and that's where we expect the board to identify one after the draft EIS is published. So on the left is the Everett sections that we're talking about, and I'm going to go into even more detail about that Everett Station section and the SR 526 Evergreen Way section. The last thing I'll point out on this map before I continue is the purple blobs are the operations and maintenance facility site alternatives. As Eric mentioned, we have to cite one of these facilities to operate the trains, and so one of these, there's not a preferred alternative for them, but one of them will need to be built, and they are, the identifiers we use for them are Site B, E, and F. So up here at Everett Station, I think most folks will be familiar with all of the facts that are included on this slide, meaning this is a really important transit hub, and we anticipate needing to make sure that those transfers for our passengers between existing service and future light rail service are really seamless. The profile of the stations here will be all elevated, so all the station alternatives we're looking at are up in the air. You can think of if you're familiar with Northgate Station, or the Shoreline South Station, or the Linwood Station. That's kind of the profile of station we're talking about here. And then for the preferred alternatives, the board had identified C or D as preferred. This was back in 2023 though, before the stadium started coming into reality. And so we have been coordinating very much with Everett staff on the progress of that facility. And so what we're hearing from staff now, and I think staff have said this at some council meetings as well, is that they are going to lean towards A at this point, becoming the preferred alternative for the city. And we all also hopefully know that Mayor Franklin serves on our board, so that is an indication of where she would lean as well come the time. And so want to point that out because yes, C and D are indicated as preferred in these graphics, but you can also see that D would need to be moved to be compatible with the stadium. So That's all very much in coordination and changing. So when we go down to 526 and Evergreen, here you don't see any green, so we do not have a preferred alternative in this area. We have 3 station alternatives though. One is on the north side of SR 526 and 2 are on the south side. 2 of them, A and B, we would need to replace that existing pedestrian bridge over 526. And then E would not impact that, so the existing bridge would stay there. And then we do not have any new parking included as part of the project. We are working, as we do with all of our stations, very closely with Everett Transit and Community Transit to make sure that we are all coordinated on how many bus stops they need, where those bus stops may go, to again make sure that we're providing those connections with local and Swift service for future riders. So looking ahead, Eric mentioned a lot of these things, and I will underscore them, that our draft DEIS we are working on publishing this year. As soon as we have an updated expected month, we will be sharing that out with community. We also this year did a big engagement effort that I know some folks in this room were involved in for our non-motorized station access allowance work. It's kind of a mouthful, but what that comes down to is that the project has a distinct funding stream for projects that will improve people's ability to get to the stations. And we have done a lot of pulling from existing Everett plans. We work with Everett Public Works and the Everett Planning Department to see what those projects are that Sound Transit may be able to contribute funding for completing. And then of course we run that all through multiple steps of community engagement. And so we completed a big effort for this earlier this summer, I believe it was. And we are now processing all of that feedback, trimming down the project list, and we will do another engagement event next year that does not overlap with the draft DEIS period. And so more of that will be coming. You can think things here like where there may be gaps in sidewalks, or there may be gaps in a bike lane, or things like that. And then we have the Enterprise Initiative and Cost Savings Opportunity work. So this is an agency-wide effort. I know some folks who are maybe more plugged in with the Sound Transit Board happenings have heard about this. There have been news articles, so you may have heard about it that way as well. And this is really an agency-wide effort to really look at our costs and how it's not just capital projects, it's not just ST3, it's operations as well. How we make our functions work with our current finances. Like everything, Sound Transit's not immune from cost pressures. And in a lot of ways, especially in the construction industry, we are particularly susceptible to them. So this so-called enterprise initiative is this really agency-wide effort to look at how we're spending money and how we can deliver on all of the services we need to provide with that money. And so what this means is that some projects are facing much higher cost pressures and higher cost deltas. Our project is actually in a pretty good place, and that is great news for all of us. And so we're going along with the process that the whole agency is doing, but we are feeling good about being able to deliver on every element of this project. And we will have more details on how that pans out for the whole agency later this year. And then we are always doing outreach and engagement. We always will provide briefings. We're here. We'll be doing winter events. We always are up to talk to people. I think that doesn't have the email, but I know Brock has our emails. Lots of folks in this room have our emails. If you want to have a conversation, if you want a briefing for any group, please contact us and we're happy to talk. And with that, we'll take questions. Yeah.
Two random questions. How long is it supposed to take to go from here to Linwood? Roughly?
Oh, time-wise?
Time-wise,
About 25 minutes.
okay. And then the little tail on the
Tail
A
track?
route,
Mhm.
at the very end there.
Yes.
Looks like it's gonna kinda, yeah.
Yeah. So what that is we truly, tail was the right word. We call that a tail track. If y'all have been down to Linwood anytime recently, you can see that it's about 400 feet of track that extends beyond the station. And that's so that trains can turn around.
Right.
There are other ways to do that as well, but with the frequency of service that we are providing, we need the space for trains to lay over, drivers get their rest, things like that.
I'm with you on all that.
Yeah.
It just seems to take up some prime real estate.
I would say there's a lot of design work yet to do. This is pretty representative, so fair point.
Gotcha.
But we do need to have that extent beyond the end of the, beyond the station area.
Yeah.
I noticed that it went to Tacoma, it looks like a jog over to Tacoma Community College. Unless I was looking at it right now. I was wondering, was there ever any discussion of this going to Everett Community College? Is there just not enough space up there? There's like one big chunk left right off Broadway, and there's 14 acres a few blocks to the east, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was curious, was that ever discussed?
You said to Everett Community College? Yeah, so yes, it has been contemplated. Part of what's in the ST3 plan is the intention to study a future extension to North Everett. And so there is no plan for the timing of that. I want to be very clear. But the language that's included is like funding for that study of what that looks like, of future transit service to Everett Community College. Truly no timeline. It would need to be part of another funding package. But yeah.
Does the Gold Line cover?
Oh yeah, great plug.
Yeah.
So the Gold Line will run up Broadway. So that expansion of Swift service that Community Transit's planning will run between Arlington and the station and go through downtown and then up Broadway. I don't know off the top of my head if they know where they're going. I'm staring at Brock if he knows, but how close they're going to Everett Community College with Gold Line?
Yeah, it's close. They won't go into the bus bays that Everett Transit has, but it's on Broadway.
Yeah. And that they are expecting to be operational in 2031, I believe.
Time is flexible depending on federal funding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it all?
Thanks. So this is the first that I've heard that the parking garage is going to be quite a bit later than the station itself, which is a bit frustrating to hear. I had a little internal temper tantrum. So I was curious, because the way I see it is that what's happening at Linwood Light Rail Station right now with the parking demands would be reflected in the parking demands of the city. So I understand the need to understand the flow of traffic and whatnot, but our traffic staff does an amazing job of already mapping that and the stadium to show as well where people are, like which streets people are using the most. But our local residential neighborhoods are going to be taking a huge hit with the stadium, with the light rail station. So further delays for a parking garage is like really worrisome just for the surrounding residential communities that are already maxed out. So I'd love to advocate for shortening that timeline as much as possible, if not to just have it happen at the same time that the station opens.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that. As you know, as light rail has moved, extended into Snohomish County, when Northgate was the terminus, we saw a lot of demand there. And then as Linwood opened, we're seeing huge demand there. As you're saying that, parking garage is full on a daily basis. So one thing that Sound Transit is doing is providing free parking at our parking garages. You're giving something away for free that you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to construct. Is that the right approach? I don't know, but I think that there's opportunities. How can you manage the parking supply and the demand? That could be paying. That could be looking at parking as a service. One of the things we're looking at also is, can parking be shared parking? Can you build parking, encourage developers to build parking as they redevelop parcels for mixed-use development, whether that's retail on the ground floor and residential above? Can that parking be shared between the people using that building during more evening hours and light rail riders other times of day? Or other, I've seen this at Northgate too. There have been some where it's, some stalls reserved for commuter parking Monday through Friday and open other times of the days of the week. So I think it's really wanting to see how we can, best use those dollars that are currently allocated for a garage. Is that really the right way to do it? And, garages bring lots of cars into a downtown and cause congestion, and that's one way to get to the light rail, but not the only way. So I think it's how we balance that out. And the city of Everett's going to control, they do control how their curb spaces are used. So making sure there's no hide and ride in neighborhoods is definitely something that needs to be considered. Do you do that through zoning or permitting for residential neighborhoods? Do you do it for time limits? I think there's lots of opportunities for that don't just say, okay, light rail's open, free for all, park wherever you want and, take advantage of the neighborhoods and the free parking. So I think that's definitely a conversation and a step that needs to be thought through, especially opening into an urban environment too, with neighborhoods nearby. So it's definitely more to come on that.
You guys are facing some pretty significant budget constraints, and I'm just curious what your best guess is for the worst case scenario for the Everett Link extension. We only have 3 votes on the board.
Yeah, that's true, and I think that I will say that we have been the board members representing Snohomish County, the Snohomish sub area, Executive Summers, Mayor Franklin, and Mayor Frizzell, outgoing now of Linwood, so we'll be having a new Linwood mayor and assume new board member for Sound Transit. I think all 3 board members have been really well aligned together and collaborative as we've worked through the project. The same thing with the staffs of all 3 jurisdictions. So that's been positive. I will say, as Martha mentioned, that there's a huge funding hole for ST3 projects. Everett Link is better off, but we still don't know how that's going to play out across the ST3 program. And for the ST3 program of light rail extensions, we're talking Ballard, West Seattle, Tacoma Dome, and Everett. So we're all, and that's what this enterprise initiative is supposed to answer. I think each project team is looking at how we can save money and still deliver the project that the voters voted on in 2016. So that's a work in progress. We're continuing to make refinements. Some of the refinements are already part of the project design. Others will require board decisions. And I don't envy the board trying to decide who gets what across the region as far as light rail. I think it's going to be a challenge, and I hope that that collaboration extends across the entire ST3, across the entire Sound Transit region in coming up with solutions. I've heard, there's been talk about, well, do we complete the spine first, get up to north to Everett, get south to Tacoma? Do you look at completing where there's more ridership, which could be West Seattle or Ballard? So it's definitely, it's going to require all the board members coming together and speaking with one voice on this one. So I don't want to guess as far as where we're going to end up on Everett Link. I'm hopeful that the project that we have here is what gets built, and it's a matter of what the timing is. But I think that we're going to see where the board ends up middle of next year.
I know you're quite a ways along in the EIS process, but curious with the 526 Evergreen stop, if the vacation of the Fred Meyer space did anything internally at Sound Transit to maybe kind of open up the possibility of an additional option or location that maybe you would have never thought about before?
Yeah, so let's see, there are a few things at play here. The first thing at play is that we've been in planning for a while, as you can see, since 2021. So back, a little history, back in probably 22, we were doing the first phase, which is up here, of planning, which is alternatives development. So you kind of fill your bucket with a range of alternatives, and then we start winnowing them down through a public process. So we had a community advisory group, we had an elected leadership group, and then we had our board. And during that alternatives development process, we actually did have an alternative that was, so I think the Fred Meyer's labeled, but on that corner we had D. So it was labeled D. Going into the draft EIS process, the elected leadership group and the board process was kind of, having A, B, and E gives us a strong range to assess impacts, because that's really one of the core purposes of this phase in planning is what's our range of environmental impacts here? And having a north side, a south side, and an alternative on the directional east side of Evergreen gave us a good range to understand property impacts, historical resources, all of those things. And so D was not moved forward. I think as we've seen, as Fred Meyer's property is uncertain in the future, and as we're understanding some historically eligible properties in this area, we are taking a look at whether an alternative at D makes sense to have be in the draft EIS. And so that's very ongoing discussion. But we would not be at this point in time considering the use of that Fred Meyer site as a whole, right? It's a huge site. But it's not big enough for an operations and maintenance facility, nor is that the best land use in that area. So does that answer your question? Yeah.
Enough to work out.
Yeah, so it's being explored. Yeah.
Two things. One, the decision making, I guess, with the folks on the board, whether to come to Everett before they go to West Seattle and or Valley. And it seems to me that the county seat for Snohomish County and the people here who have been paying into this for a long time would expect to get what they've paid for before more people who are in Seattle who already have lots of stations get even more stations. Now that's from somebody who lives in Everett's point of view. Second, I'm guessing that you've done studies of potential riders to hear why they would ride and why they would not ride. And this goes back to a place to park. And people will come from miles around to get on to the train if they can park. But if they can't park, they'll just stay in their car and drive because it'd be easier. If they can't park, they might as well drive. And so what you end up with is a situation where you're saying, well, once we have it will decide what to do about parking. Except that the problem is that all those people who aren't going to use the station because they can't park aren't going to be factored in to the decision making. The ridership will be artificially low if you can't get to the station.
Yeah, I guess maybe taking that second question first. I think we've been, so our ridership projections that we use throughout the planning process and early on, probably back to ST3 planning, took into account the parking garages that we're planning. So took into account the additional 1,000 stalls in downtown Everett, and took into account the 550 stalls at the Mariner Park Garage. So that was really the basis for the ridership numbers. I think it comes down to, parking costs money, and is that really the best use of dollars for a transit agency? I think that people have options, and you're right, the people outside where they don't have good bus service to feed into light rail, yeah, they're going to want to drive. And the choice for them then is, do they drive to a station and park, or do they drive all the way to their ultimate destination? I don't know that they're going to have free parking at their ultimate destination. I don't know that they're going to want to sit in traffic longer to do that. So I think that Sound Transit's made some assumptions in that. And yeah, part of it is, we see the demand, Linwood, we see the demand. If you provide free parking at a station, you're going to get lots of people wanting to park there. That's not necessarily the best use of land or dollars at each station area. On the first question, yeah, totally get it. And Sound Transit has something called sub-area equity. So Snohomish County is a sub-area, Pierce County is a sub-area, East King, South King, and North King are the sub-areas, and they try and even out what those regions, what those sub-areas are paying in and what they're getting out. And yeah, Snohomish County has been paying in without getting light rail service up until last year. Understand that. For me personally, yeah, I want to see Everett Link get built first. It's the project I'm on. I'm a little selfish that way, and yeah, I want to get service here. But I think that each, if we go to each sub area and talk to members of the public in each sub area, they're going to have a case for why their segment should get built first. So I think it's going to come down to taking a look at the system as a whole and how that breaks down. But yeah, I'm hopeful that we keep moving ahead with Everett Link as we're planning.
We're going to close out here. I'm going to make a few more comments on the long range the light rail here. ESDA is in it for the long term, for the big picture. Sound Transit, I think Sound Move was adopted in 1998, 97? Six? Way back. And that funded, obviously, the initial light rail system. So the sub area of Seattle, North King County funded that initial light rail. And our sub area funded express bus service. And so we paid an equivalent amount in to get express bus service out of that. And then in 2008, 9, I forget, 8, we had ST2, and we funded light rail to Linwood, and we just got that last year. And with ST3, adopted in 2016, I worked on the campaign, along 9 years ago. We're going to get light rail to Everett. Current timeline is 2041. We're building this system not for me, right? It's not even for those who are older than me. It's not for me. It's probably not for people younger than me. We're building a transportation and a land use system for the population in the future. And that's what our organization is about. It's about thinking about the big picture. How do we create a community that's long-lasting, that solves some of the big problems of society that we have? Think about it. What types of communities do we want our kids and grandkids to have, and build it out? And so whether it's Casino Road and thinking about the real pressures that are there and wanting to make sure that's a multicultural community that people aren't displaced. There's going to be unique challenges for thinking about how do we make sure that the benefits of light rail accrue to the people who live there and their kids and grandkids. And for this neighborhood, it's going to be, thinking, I'll be a little bit more of my conservative side here, which is, as an Everett taxpayer, I want to make sure that we are maximizing the benefit for the Everett tax base. And a parking garage has opportunity costs, but most of the people who are coming to the parking garage are going to be coming from other cities, from Lake Stevens, from Marysville, coming in. They're not paying in. They're not part of the benefit district. We're paying 20 plus years into this transit system. I want to make sure it accrues to the people who live in Everett, right? So it's still a hard question. We want to make sure that our roads are not congested, that the parking is a chaos in 2041 or 2044 whenever we get this incomplete. So we got to think that through. But there's a real cost, and one of the reasons why there was a realignment to how the projects were staged a few years ago, and the real decision was made that the parking garages would be built later in order so we could prioritize getting transit service earlier. And so that's why that change in timeline happened, in part. And so that allows us to have some more discussions over that time period and figure out what do we want our communities to look like, how do we want them to grow. Maybe it is a parking garage, maybe we do want to prioritize it earlier, and certainly we'll be part of that conversation to listen to community and figure out what's right. I want to thank you all for being here. We do have big changes coming in 2026 for the organization. We're excited to launch them, but thank you so much for the journey through 2025 and the past years, and I hope to continue to connect with you.